Today's Labor Day. It's a holiday that's all about celebrating the contributions and work of individuals here in the U.S. So it's a holiday all about work, the effort, the grind, the contributions that we make through our labor. But some of the hardest work that you and we ever do will never show up on a paycheck. It's about the labor that we put into hiding something, the parts of ourselves that are hurting, the pressure that we keep under wraps, the pain we cover with a smile or with performance to pretend like we're okay. And today, I want to challenge you. If we're honoring labor, then let's also talk about the hidden labor, because the work of healing, the work you don't post about or get the applause for, is work and labor that is necessary. Welcome back, guys, to the Emmanuel Dr. EG3 podcast. I'm Emmanuel George, but most people around here just call me Dr. EG3. And today I want to speak directly to that part of you that's tired, not just from the job, but from all the invisible effort of hiding. See, growth is visible, healing is internal and sacred. And if you want to stand strong for the long run, healing isn't optional, healing is necessary. So I want to give you like two quick perspectives on this. So first, let's pretend we're at the gym. You've seen it before. Somebody's over there on the bench pushing up the weights. They have their headphones in, head bobbing back and forth. They're looking in the mirror, face locked in. To the outside world, they look like the definition of strength. But if you pay attention to them, you'll start to notice some guarded movement, maybe a slight wince here and there, and you realize maybe they're pushing through some type of pain or injury. They don't want to stop, right? Because they're working on their traps or their biceps. They don't want to scale it back because they're trying to work towards a goal to make it look like everything's okay. So what do? They keep going, laboring to not just lift the weight, but to cover those little imperfections and weaknesses that they may have or soreness that they got. And guess what? Every rep cost them a double when they push through the injury. Now, I remember back many moons ago when I was a regional supervisor and I was running over 40 pharmacies across the area. And I remember every day the expectation was for us to show up to the stores in business professional. Had to wear the suit and the tie and have everything buttoned up. You know, when we walked in the room, the expectation was clear. We had to be polished, sharp, decisive, unshakable. And I think I delivered that well, and many a times had my suits and I thought I was looking good, pretty fly. But some days there I was walking in those stores, in those pharmacies with a hidden truth. Some days it took me a little more work to put on that image than actually do the job. I struggled sometimes with the stress. I'm human. I had doubts. Sometimes it was the pressure that I never spoke about. And to me, it felt like hiding that, keeping it under wraps, maintaining that image was heavier than actually doing the work. Now, although I just kind of presented two different settings, there's the same reality. We're all doing overtime somewhere, not just to perform, but to actually keep those hidden part of us hidden. So on this Labor Day, I wanted to give you three truths that I want you to sit with. The first one is this: hidden labor is still labor. The effort it takes to push down disappointment, to smile when you're drained, to say I'm good when you know that you're not, that's still work, still effort, still labor. Some of us are clocking double shifts, if we want to be honest with ourselves. The work everyone sees, but then the invisible work of holding on. Or more importantly, probably holding yourself together. And here's the kicker. That hidden labor drains you faster than the actual grind. You think you're holding it down, but in reality, you've been running on empty just to keep it going. Number 2, healing takes less work than hiding. Avoidance is a bill that I can tell you guys will always come due. You can push it off, you can cover it up, but eventually it will collect, and oftentimes with interest. Hiding always feels easier in the moment because you could just move on. Let me avoid it. Let me not talk about it. Let me keep the peace. But it's heavier in the long run. See, hiding is like dragging an anchor or a weight around that was really never meant for you to carry. See, you get used to the weight. We're resilient. We get used to a lot of things that's not intended for us. We accommodate, we compensate. But see, dragging that thing around, all it does is really just slow you down. At the beginning, it doesn't feel like it because you'll get a little stronger. You might be able to push through. But see, the real healing comes together when it's time for you to realize you got to let that thing go. You realize once you let that anchor and that weight go, you get more freedom. You'll get more energy, more strength than you ever remembered. I remember when we were training for track practice, sometimes we would use this thing that's called a parachute. And basically you get on the mark, you start, and you would run. But you got this parachute running behind you is intended to give you drag, to slow you down. You know you're able to run and try to be fast, but I can tell you the freedom once you tried to run that curve, that straightaway without that parachute. You felt freed. But see, that's why healing is necessary. Not a luxury, not a maybe later, not something for other people to do, but necessary. The real strength is choosing to face it instead of wasting the energy to hide it. And here's the last point. Rest is a part of the work. Now, let's talk about that gym. Now, I can tell you, muscles don't grow during your sets. They grow in the recovery. And you may be wondering, wait, that doesn't make any sense, man. You're not pumping the weights when you're resting. What's going on? Well, if you care about the physiology and biology of it all, as you're sitting there in your set, what you're doing is your muscles are growing and they're contracting and they're flexing. But what they're also doing is having little micro tears of the muscle fibers as they stretch. But see what happens in the rest is all of those muscle cells, they recover and they grow back bigger, stronger to accommodate the work and the weight that you have put yourself through. And see, the same is true with your mind, your spirit, and your heart. If you never build in rest, reflection, and the ability to repair, you're actually shortchanging your progress. See, Labor Day itself is a reminder that we don't just celebrate the work, we celebrate the rest. That's why we take the day off, to reflect. Now, I know we don't always think about it in the middle of like the barbecues and the invites and the cookouts and the things that we do and the day off from work. But it's to remember work and rest, they go together. And if you're a high performer, which I know you are, I want you to listen close to this. Your productivity will never outpace your willingness to pause and heal. See, without that rhythm, work, rest, recovery, you grind yourself down to dust. So here's the bottom line. Growth is what people see. Healing is what you and the Creator know to be true. See, both matter. If you chase growth without healing, you're just building on tears and cracks in the foundation, like those muscles. But when you do the necessary work of healing, rest, recovery, repair. Your growth isn't just visible, it's actually better sustainable for you. It's grounded and it lasts. Healing is what makes your growth unshakable. So, here's my challenge to you for this week. Ask yourself, where am I laboring to hide instead of just healing to grow? Is it a disappointment? Maybe a failure of the past? Maybe a wound from a previous relationship? A pressure that you've been carrying just a tad too long? Pick one thing and don't keep laboring to cover it. Take one step towards healing it this week or uncovering it or hiding it. Maybe you want to write it down and reflect on it. Maybe you want to talk about it with someone. Maybe pray about it. But stop giving it that rent free in your life and your mind. So, if this episode hit home, share it with someone. As always, somewhere on this page, click subscribe so you never miss another episode. You're more than welcome to check out my website, emmanuelgeorge.com, for more resources that are intended to help you live, grow, and heal strong. But as we close, I want you guys to know that healing the parts you hide is necessary. It's the work that gives your growth a foundation. It's what keeps you standing when life gets busy. And when you choose healing, you're not stepping back, you're stepping forward into strength, into clarity, into freedom. And it might be a little scary. But I want you guys to remember, as always, I love you much.